Hello, Blue Jay fans. I'm Brock Turnbull, class of 2018. Joined as always, my co-host, two-time national champ Jesse Schwartzman, class of 2007. Welcome to season 2, episode 9 of the We Want More Vodcast.
Winds up, takes it, goes forward, scores another one for Hopkins.
The test was just called it right in there. Shot to goal right out in front. The Blue Jays
does not wear a brace. Never has shown any adverse effects. Harrison with it. Big shot. Scores! Kyle Harrison goes high. That's it. It's over. Johns Hopkins has won its ninth national championship.
We're joined now by Coach Pete Millman. Coach, thanks again. Another week back at it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Hey, Coach. So a lot going on at home with this past weekend. Homecoming, first and foremost, and Champions Day. You guys honored the 1975 team, 50th anniversary of that championship team. Obviously, Don Zimmerman, Coach Zim was part of that one, and a former Blue Jay head coach. He's really one of the glue guys that kind of ties us back to the Chickaronis and the Bob Scotts. Have you had a chance in your tenure to spend some quality time with him and speak with Coach Zim?
I have actually, and I appreciate you asking that. Because he does call games at times, there's been some opportunities for me to do interviews with him and some conversations there just to catch up. But it also led me, to ask him for a little bit more time, here and there. And we invited him out. It was last year, 2 years ago. He came out and spoke with the team for a little while. I've had some good conversations with him out, some of the coaching events at coaching conventions. Heard him speak a bunch of times and just really enjoyed my time. Like you said, hearing the connections from, days before, I knew a lot of the guys or knew of some of them even back then. But, he's always been one of my favorites in the coaching realm, but as a Blue Jay, he's a legend. He's great to have him around as much as possible.
Yeah, so true. I mean, going back to when we played against him every year when I was at Hopkins and he was at UMBC, and I see him randomly now. His grandkids live kind of near me, so we see each other randomly at the playground, and he's always just so warm and energetic and such a positive vibe. So I'm glad you guys have that connection.
Yeah, he's been great. I really appreciate having his support and just being around him, around the guys as much as possible. And Pod brings up another chance to invite him back for some more teaching lessons.
Yeah, Saturday, we also honored the 1980, 85, and 2005 national championship teams. Jesse was out there. He was a part of that. A lot of guys came back. Pretty cool moment. You see guys who graduated, 10, 20, 30 years ago, bringing their kids now. They have kids that are playing the sport. So it's a pretty special moment. What was it like for you as the current coach to kind of see those past champions?
I mean, it's one of the special things about being a part of this program. Seeing the tradition and the history of how much success Homewood Field has seen and the men that have been through here. It's always one of the great parts about Alumni Weekend is getting to have conversations and catch up with a lot of folks. Didn't get as much time to spend with the alums coming back. Got to see a lot of guys, around the team, around campus, back for the celebrations. I know there's a lot of guys out at Sammy's on Friday night, spending some time together. But really just trying to embrace the tradition and let the guys know, the support and the lineage that they're a part of. These great, men, the proud program that they're a part of for such a long time. Honoring 4 national championship teams on one day is unique in anybody's world. But it's always great to have the folks back and the excitement and seeing the kids celebrating Blue Jays and waving their banners and having T-shirts on and however the game goes, those are always great days and great memories.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I know I saw Brock out there with a bunch of his old classmates, and it's special when guys don't live around here but kind of come back and bring the families and the kids, and it really embodies the family environment of Hopkins and why we all choose to go there and spend so much quality time. Hey, Coach, switching gears to the game, another grinder in Big Ten play. I feel like every game this year, maybe with the exception of one overall in gameplay, has been decided within 3 or 4 goals. What do you attribute that to? And also just impressions after kind of unpacking and watching some film of the Ohio State game.
I mean, our conference is good. There's no way around that. Everybody is well aware of the other teams in the conference, and guys. I mean, Maryland enters in undefeated and loses to the teams that were the last two preseason rated teams in our conference, and I think that is a testament to the quality of the programs and the quality of the athletes and the lacrosse that's being played. It's a physical and well coached version for the most part. You're going to see a lot of teams that know each other, know what they're doing. They're trying to execute game plans that have specific strategies in mind. You need to execute. That's really the difference. You can't just ride one player who's doing well, or a couple things are rolling your way, or you try and ramp up the tempo and take a team out of their comfort zone and play a little hectic. You need to execute. You need to be consistent. You need to perform where you're planning on, and if it doesn't work that way, these are tough games to win, and we need to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a better position throughout from the start. But the reality is like that no one's going to give us anything. These are tough teams and tough kids, and they're not just going to hand you anything because they don't care that much. These guys all put a lot into this and care very deeply.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at the game coach, right? That it seems like we're having this conversation week in, week out, kind of about the slow starts, right? But give Ohio State all the credit. That's a very tough team, a very talented team. But if you kind of take away the first half of that first quarter, right? It's a pretty even game throughout, about a lot of back and forth. What were some of the takeaways after we kind of looked at the film and unpacked it a little bit?
I mean, discipline is going to be the biggest factor right now. Is that we're making a game plan, and we need to execute that as effectively as we possibly can. And some of the decisions, if they deviate from that game plan or they don't stay on script with the integrity of the way we're trying to play, then that can cost us. And guys know that and they accept those, but we need to understand that that's got to be built during the week, and it's got to be developed into a commitment, into a hardened foundation of who we are, and we're not getting there well enough for it to translate. Because we talked about playing more patient offense, and our first three possessions totaled just over a minute, so we weren't getting it. We got excited about some opportunity and we went after it, and it didn't materialize, and the ball goes the other way. And that other offense played more patient. They took less shots than us and scored more, and they took better shots and worked their systems to get the ball in front. A lot of the things that we talk about. They got some mature guys and some experienced players on their end of the field, but there's no excuses on our end. It doesn't matter who's out there. We gotta execute what our assignments are. And I think on the defensive end of the field, there's maybe more responsibility we're putting on their end because of the way we're playing offense. But either way, we got to dig in and play the ball tougher. We're maybe trying to deviate and do too much or I don't know, make a bigger play than is necessary. We got to make simple plays and do those consistently.
Coach, what do you for example, in the third quarter, we seem to get it going offensively a little bit. Is that something you guys talked about, made some adjustments at halftime, or was it just kind of like what you just said, guys settling down, making the kind of easy and the smart play instead of trying to hit a home run? What do you attribute to us kind of finding our groove a little bit there in the third quarter?
I mean, it's a balance of both the things you just mentioned. I mean, the first one that's more important than anything is that we started to execute what we talked about, and we didn't lose emotional control when we saw one or two things that looked interesting. We had the discipline to work through it and make sure that we took a higher quality shot. It also brings about a little bit more urgency in that guys know that they need to have a hardened focus. I mean, you do the whole way through, but it clearly is more apparent when you're down a few at halftime. The other one is you get a chance to reassess when you get a few minutes together, more than just a minute in between quarters or timeouts or something like that, to talk about what you like and where you want to reassert your efforts. And we like certain matchups, or there's a matchup change and that allows us to go back to something else. We're really looking for where's the first place that we can attack a defense and find a weakness, so that we start some movement, so we can start some rotation, so we can draw a slide. It's not always who's going to get to the goal and get a shot off. It's how are we going to force them to come out of their static positions? How are we going to
get moving a little bit?
Yeah, get them to start moving, and then how do we find those? How do we find those bad approaches, the spaces between their rotations, the mistakes that they're making in recovery that we can exploit? So a lot of it just starts with that first dodge. Like, where's the first one that draws a slide and then gets that movement started.
And give the listeners just a little insight as to kind of how that works. Is that more dictated by who you want the ball kind of to either start with or end with offensively, or are you more so looking on who we want to attack first on the defensive side to be able to just draw that initial slide and create some movement?
It's a great question, and there's multiple answers because certain guys are going to have matchups because they might not be able to two pole or three pole, and so you got the short sticks on your faster midfielders, or you can set picks in a certain place that you're going to get a switch on them because of the way they have to play them. There's also scenarios where if you set a good pick or you get the ball to Matt Collison in certain spots, like he's probably going to be able to get somewhere that they may have to support and have to slide to. There's other elements of it sometimes where you can put a defense in a more predictable position because how they design their rotations, and if we start moving in a certain pattern, we know they have to rotate into this or switch on the backside because that's their game plan. We've seen it enough times on film, so sometimes that's even just the first way to start the rotation. So it's a mixture of all those things. We want to go with our strength first, and we want to attack their weakness along with that, but some of the things can get a little bit too schematic where your guys are thinking about the movement of the defense, the rotations, they're thinking about who's going where before they're thinking about attack the net. So you need to make sure that you're realigning and that we're never moving past that. Like, you got the ball, you're the most threatening person on the field. So we want to attack the net. If you don't have the ball, you're trying to find that best spot. Sometimes it's right in front of the goal. Sometimes it's off the back pipe. Sometimes it's in the shooting spot. And sometimes it changes subtly because of the movement and the spacing that they give you. So, we got to be hunting the ball more aggressively. But again, I think the biggest factor on the offensive end of the field, we got to take care of it. We went into halftime with 9 turnovers. Like, that's way too high. We had 4 in the second half, or 5 in the second half, something like that. And that was a much better adjustment. And your reaction to our productivity in the second half, like, maybe it was that we scored a few, so we didn't have an opportunity to turn it over. But I think the other way around, like, if we're not turning the ball over, good chances are we have more looks at the net.
Absolutely, yeah. Not turning the ball over, more possessions, more shots, likely more goals. Except this year, which brings me to my next point, in the Big Ten, this goalie group is incredible. With Big Tasty Caleb Fayok last week and Stoller the week before. We're seeing Fracion at Penn State this week, and then arguably the best of them all, McNaney, who seems like he's been in Maryland for 10 years now. Is this as good of a collective group of goalies that you've ever seen in your Big Ten tenure?
Oh, since I've been at Hopkins, yeah, I would say so. I mean, it might be an All-American goalie on every team, and that's
right.
That's not a common thread. And they're good. I mean, we ran into a kid last week. We gave him a few early. I mean, we talked about the tempo of the first possession. We're giving him a chance to see it, to get his hands on it, but he plays confident, takes up a lot of space. He's a good netminder, and we're going to see another one each week. But it's nothing that should put us out of our comfort zone at all. It's just going to reinforce, like, the discipline that it takes to play quality offense. When you're going to get those shots, then you're going to need to make sure you're executing them. You need to take the right shot, find the right location. You don't have 100% control of the location all the time. Sometimes you miss your spot. Sometimes you wanted to put it a certain place and it didn't go there, but we have 100% control of our decision making and where we choose to execute those shots.
Yeah, you made a great point, just for the viewers out there who aren't as familiar, when you said about the first possession and kind of letting him catch one and getting his confidence. I think it's so important, especially on the first possession, to just be extremely disciplined and work for not just the first shot, but for the best shot, and make sure that first shot is one that likely won't get swallowed by the goalie, to give him a little boost to the game. So that's great insight. I didn't know Brock can attest, but as goalies, we love catching the first ball, or just even getting hit with the first ball, just making us feel like we're in the game. And yeah.
I think that's where the understanding that the volume doesn't always favor us. If you're getting the goalie comfortable getting hit by the shots or seeing a lot of rubber and catching a few, you may want shots, but you also want to take great shots. And there's a contrast there sometimes because you can shoot, like we talked about Ohio State, you shoot less and you score more. I don't know if some of those early shots are worth it at all. And I know for a fact we talked about it that we should have kept some of them in the holster, but yeah, you get a goalie touching the ball early and especially a really good one and who can get hot. He gets really comfortable. If you get him into halftime only touching the ball one time, even if you don't have a ton of goals, but you're working your offense, sometimes there's a longer term success in there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, certainly as someone who's played the position, it's one of those like against any goalie, good shots will go. They're going to steal a couple here and there, but I think from a confidence standpoint, just the ability to kind of keep shooting, keep putting the ball in good spots, and eventually they're going to fall, and that can be tough to kind of get into guys' heads sometimes. But looking at our end, coach, we made the decision to go from Orrin to Jack Webb in the second half, and certainly a very tough decision. Could you explain to the viewers what as a coaching staff do you consider when making a decision like that?
You're trying to keep track of obviously how the goalie's doing, but then how that resonates with the defense and with the team overall. Um, I don't think our defense was fantastic in that first half, and I don't want to say that Orrin was the product of that or the cause of that. I think it's a little bit of both, but having a few games in a row where we didn't feel like we were getting what we wanted there, an opportunity presented itself to give somebody else a chance and give somebody else a look. We decided to make that move. In hindsight, was it right? Was it wrong? You always going to relive those a million times over. I think it was appropriate to give Jack the opportunity to go in there, and I don't think I would second guess that. It doesn't yield the result you want, and so there's the overall issue with it. So we need to get better, play in certain spots, and that's one of them. And we need to be more consistent at the way we're handling it. We got to get better energy and focus. I think that comes from the whole group and the urgency in between the pipes for sure. I mean, it's a tough position to play, and the last thing we want to do is put them put them where they're feeling like they're on an island. Like they got to be a part of the defensive product of what we're doing overall and not separate them. But if you're not tracking the ball consistently or not making saves that we think you can make or normally do, then there's an opportunity to make a change.
Absolutely. Coach, before we kind of pop over to Penn State, I feel like it's important to kind of end on some positives, right? So looking at some good things that we can build on from this past week. Eric Chick, 3 goals and 1 assist on the second midfield. Logan Callahan is still doing what he's doing, right? And then obviously getting Tyler Eye back, who's missed a few weeks. I'm sure it was great to kind of see him back out there and get some runs in.
Yeah, Tyler's great and he brings an energy. And although he's a freshman, feels a little bit more veteran-like because he started right out of the gates and was in the mix for us early and even through the fall. So he brings a presence back there. He's picking up the ball on face-off wings and things. Some of those guys, Stu was back in the mix, which was helpful, and some of those other guys that might have been out or working their way back in. Logan obviously is putting together an All-American season. He's as steady as anybody I've seen in a while, and I think the biggest success this past weekend we won. I think it was 19 faceoffs, and he didn't have a ground ball on half of those, which means our wings were involved, and our wings were getting there. It wasn't just the Logan Callahan show. I mean, he had some good box outs. He had some good play with his wings where he's spilling it out to spots that those guys were picking those things up, and I think we gave some guys a chance on the wings, and they did a good job. We're excited to continue to elevate them and give them more opportunity.
Yeah, and like you said, more opportunity. I mean, we got so many young guys playing at all positions in the field, from the back end to the offense. Obviously, we want to see, as you do, more W's at the end. But talk about paying dividends and kind of just the experience that these guys are getting playing in big, meaningful games in the late spring is going to prove so valuable in the years to come.
Yeah, they're getting minutes, but we can't overlook where we are right now. There's an urgency right now to make plays, to get the job done. Um, the path is forward. It's not around it. There's no easy answer or excuse for what we're doing. I don't care how good the other team is or how good their goalie plays, or if we hit a couple pipes. We got to be tougher. We got to continue to pick up more ground balls. We got to defend the ball with more urgency, and we got to take care of it when we have it. So, all things we've talked about, and we're going to continue to reinforce. I believe our best lacrosse is still in front of us. I know it is, and I know these guys believe that. It's one step at a time, and right now, we're going to finish a game plan in a week for Penn State prep.
Awesome. All right, fans, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back with Coach Pete Millman and Penn State after this.
He needs surgery in the next 10 days.
Felt the shooting pain in my knee. Oh,
I don't know what I did, but I did something. I stepped off to the side again and it buckled.
the plan is to get you to run again. The plan is to get you back to where you were. We can fix this.
To know that I could be back out there.
You know, I'm way better now than I was pre-surgery.
Welcome to Johns Hopkins.
Our fans, we'd now like to welcome in John Paleologos for our alumni spotlight. John is a 1999 grad and defenseman here for Johns Hopkins. John, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So first kind of question, John, it might be a little wild to hear, but we're 26 years removed from graduating from Hopkins, and does that sound real? Does that seem possible at this point?
It hurts a little bit. It hurts a little bit, both physically and mentally. But
right, I would say hurts getting out of bed a little bit more these days.
It just continually goes downhill, but that's life. Every day above ground's a good day.
Good.
But it's definitely something I miss, and lots of fond memories. Lots of fond memories of Homewood and the field, and also just the guys that I spent a lot of time with. Great. We had a great class. I really liked our team.
Yeah, and I mean, for people that don't know, you played at a time with Kuzi and Gags and Robbie Dorr, and I know we were talking before we kind of hit record, but in the nets with guys like Kark and Johnny Marcus. So just, yep. I mean, tremendous guys off the field, tremendous leaders, and great guys to have a cold one with after the game. Yeah,
it was. Those were, I don't know, maybe you guys could speak to it, but it seems like those are the last few days when we really got away with a lot of things. Maybe more than we should have, but it was they were equally up to the task, whether we were playing or whether we were having a night out. So lot of fond memories there.
Yeah. Hey, talk a little bit about your experience. You came in, had a bunch of injuries and battled through those, and then ended up as a starter with a Final Four your senior year. Talk a little bit about your kind of a little brief rundown from kind of when you entered Homewood as a young 18-year-old to when you finished off there.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people had the same, at least, experience. When you come in, you think you're the king of the world, and then you show up and realize how small and insignificant you are, and how many really great players there are out there, and you're humbled very, very fast. I remember there was a fifth-year attackman named Brad Burzens, and I was a freshman, and he saw me coming a mile away and just abused me for the first 2 months, because he was, a tenured seasoned guy, and he knew all the tricks, and I knew shit. Yeah, so my freshman year, I broke my hand. Guy just caught me on a check on a clear and broke all the bones across my hand, and that sidelined me for the most of the spring. And then my sophomore year, in the second game I think we had against Rutgers, I ground ball picked up, was starting a clear, and a guy dove at me and put the crown of his helmet in my knee and broke my tibia. So I was in a wheelchair for a month and crutches for 6 months after that, and kind of got me for my second year. So thankfully, my senior year, I was able to rehab, and there was a doctor that I think is still around, Dr. Curl around. I don't know if you guys would know, but I know she's still practicing medicine, but she did a lot of the surgeries for us then, and she got me back, and never have had a problem with that knee since, which is kind of amazing to me. It doesn't even hurt. But I played for 2 years on it, and yeah, we had a good couple of runs, and my senior year we came close. We had a number one ranking, I think, at one point my junior year, and then my senior year we fell to Virginia in the Final Four and just had a rough first quarter, to be honest with you. They jumped up way on us, and we couldn't dig ourselves out of the hole. But just awesome. Honestly, it's awesome thinking about it again. I haven't thought about it in a long time.
Yeah, no, it really is. And these alumni spotlights, Brock and I both enjoy them because it lets us kind of relive our glory days a little bit, which were a little bit more recent than yours, but we all kind of went through the same thing on the same hallowed grounds of Homewood. So it's pretty special.
Everybody's gonna ask you, maybe you guys, the one game you remember, my junior year, we played Maryland under the lights at Hopkins, and I think they were number one coming in, and everybody played so well, and we beat them under the lights, and it was just, God, what a night. If you could rerun a day over and over and over again on a loop, that would be it for me.
Yeah, I think that was one of the largest crowds at Homewood in probably the last 30 years.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you guys have played in front of it. I mean, when that place is packed and it's humming, and it's just there's nothing like it. It is so fucking cool there.
I totally agree. I always think back to the 100th anniversary Hopkins Maryland game, which was my freshman year, Saturday night under the lights, with all the hoopla and the tradition and all the buildup with. I mean, there wasn't really social media as much back then, but like WBAL and all the local news channels out there, and then to see that place and run out under the lights, and they have the kind of the temporary bleachers behind both goals and on the university side. It is. I mean, I'm getting chills talking about it. It's just there's no place like it.
Yeah, it was what drew me there too. I mean, I grew up in DC, so not far, and we used to go up to games, and I remember, watching Terry and Pick my senior year in high school, and I was like, God, I got to be a part of that.
Awesome.
You also played and represented on the U19 team back in 1996. You got to talk about what that experience was like and kind of being able to play for your country.
I would tell you that was the second, after Hopkins, the second best experience I ever had playing lacrosse. We were over in Tokyo, and I think we were there for a month, and just, I mean, the team was stacked. We were quite a good team, and we had a couple games that were a little close, but for the most part, it was just rolling people. But the experience of playing over in Japan and meeting all the guys on the team, first of all, who were great, and then just the other countries you played against, to get to know them, and to be in kind of what I viewed as the most foreign land in the world,
right,
to me. And so we had I'm 6'6", and we had three defensemen on the team that were all my size. A kid named Chris Lamy from Maryland,
yep,
and Kurt Lunkenheimer from Princeton, and another guy from Duke. And I mean, we were like circus animals walking around over there, because
the tallest people in all of Tokyo.
I mean, it was amazing. You couldn't go anywhere without being mobbed, and it was really cool. And then we went from there to China and spent 3 or 4 days in China, which was not as good as Japan, but we had a good time too.
That's awesome. That's actually a great seg into now Miller and Long, and I say China because of kind of trade war and tariffs and steel and all that. But for those that don't know, John's the COO and vice chair at Miller and Long, big contractor in the DC metro area. How'd you get into that business, and kind of talk us about your kind of career trajectory there?
So my father started there in 1959. It was the only job he ever had working for the company. And the Jack Miller, who's our founder, kind of took a shine to him, and he's been there ever since. And I started in 1994. Working I would work summers and winters, and it's really been just my life. And we're a concrete subcontractor, so we build the superstructure of the building. If you look at a building like a body, we build the skeleton of the building, and we employ carpenters, ironworkers, laborers, engineers, and operators, and finishers. And I was lucky enough to spend time in each of the trades, growing up, and I moved to New York after I graduated Hopkins and spent a few years in concrete up in New York, which was an even funnier place to do what I do. And then moved back to Washington in 2004 actually, and started back with Miller and Long, and it's a great way to make a living. We had Coach Millman and the team come down and do tours of various industries, and we presented kind of what we do. And what I like to stress is that guys look at our line of work and think, it's not that glamorous. They want to be in a finance office or something like that, but we offer some pretty damn good careers and make a lot of money. And I think people just overlook it. And as a company, we do about $500 million annually, and we're pretty damn good at it. The stuff lately hasn't hit us yet. There's so much uncertainty. I mean, I live in Washington, so we're surrounded by it, but so much uncertainty about what's going on right now. We always have price increases based on global events and other, something springs up, everybody buys all the plywood up and lumber and everything, or there's an issue with steel in other places, so prices spike. So we're used to spiking prices. You just got to try and stay ahead of the curve. I was talking with our yard manager this morning. We've stockpiled a lot of tools, actually, just hand tools, small tools, in advance of this. So I think we'll be able to ride. And we buy plywood by the train car. So we've
Right.
got a fairly good stockpile now. If it goes on for a year or two, we'll have to burn that bridge when we get to it. But hopefully there's something good on the other side of this, and we'll see. If your guess is, I was not an economics major. I was a classical studies major. So I majored in Latin and ancient Greek, which was really helping me in my life.
Yeah, mine too, as a political science major working in real estate now. But no, it's funny, like you said about stockpiling. I was talking to one of the local developers who has, I don't know, 20, 25 million square feet kind of nationally. And when HVAC units were extremely on back order, they basically had a vacant 20,000 square foot end unit, and they just stockpiled units in there just to cut down on lead time and
Yep.
keep the ball moving.
Yep. And it's that kind of stuff that'll get you to break out of a market too. So we're hopeful that, we're busy right now. Offices are non-existent and residential's been slow, but we've been doing data centers because they can't stop building them. Northern Virginia is the largest concentration of data centers in the world. And supposedly with AI, they think it's going to quadruple. So we are lucky enough to be in that market. And in my opinion, the next thing that we're looking at, because of the big needs with data centers, is power, and the grid seems to be getting a little strained. So I've heard a lot of talk of mini nuclear. So for me, those things are heavy concrete jobs, and I will be right there if they keep going that way.
John,
but go ahead.
I would say you kind of touched on it, didn't mean to change subject on it, but you kind of touched on it earlier. You helped with the DC networking trip with the team this past year, and you're also a pod mentor for the guys. Can you tell the fans and alums, like if they're not familiar, like what is a pod mentor and kind of what's your role?
So this is I think it's like my fifth or sixth year with the mentor program. It might be more than that, and it's developed and it's evolved over time. When we started it, it was you kind of got one guy and you kind of spent your time with that guy, just trying to coach him along. How do you work your way through college with an eye to the day after you graduate? What we've changed it into is to have this kind of group so that both the mentors and the mentees are in a group, and when they look at the mentors, there's a whole array of expertise that they can draw from as they're looking to make the next step, get an internship, put a resume together. How do I talk to this person? How do I interview with somebody? And we've got such a great wide variety of guys that are hugely successful in what they do. So I think it's a really valuable thing for the kids on the team. If they have a question about, what a company that they're looking at or a place to maybe go to. And then again, if we can put people in some internships and the whole goal here is that the day you graduate, you got a job waiting for you. You got a good job waiting for you, which is, the reason why we're doing all this. But it's been a really good program.
Yep. For former players and alums who maybe aren't familiar with this and who would want to get involved, how would they go about that?
The lead of my group is a guy named Joe Garaventi. And I think through Coach Millman, I'm sure he's got contact for him. But I mean, we can certainly get people involved. We have guest speakers all the time. We actually have a pod meeting tonight, and we have a variety of guys coming and do a quick speech for our guys. And then certainly if they want to get involved more than that, we'd love to have anybody join it.
That's great. Hey, Pags, are your kids involved in the sport at all? Are you involved anymore?
I have 4 daughters. So when I graduated and when I moved back here, I coached at my high school for about 9 years. And we had 2 national championships or national number 1 rankings, whatever, and some really successful programs. And I had 2 kids. The last year I had 2 kids. At that point, my wife said, your children would love to see you, because I work, I'd leave the house at 5 a.m. and then get to practice at 3:30 and get home by 7 o'clock and everyone be asleep. So it was just more than at the time I could handle. I have 4 girls now. My oldest is actually graduating this year and going to Georgetown. She was a tennis player.
Awesome.
My 3rd daughter is a lacrosse player, and I am now in the lovely world of travel lacrosse, which is so much fun. It's so I haven't gotten back into coaching, but I'm at lacrosse games every weekend, and lacrosse practice 3 times a week at 9 till 9:30 at night. So.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Mine are too young I have a 5-year-old that's playing a little bit now, but my brother lives in DC with 2 girls, and it seems like every weekend for the past 4, they're either in like Edgewood, Harford County, they're in Baltimore City, and these are quote unquote league games. So it's like, I'm like, wow, you guys have to travel far for a simple league game.
Jesse, we went to a tournament last summer in Princeton and played 4 games against teams from Bethesda, Maryland. And I was like, what are we doing?
It's a racket, man. It's a racket.
It is. And I mean, I will say that, the level of play is pretty impressive. And I get it. When you're driving hours and hours every weekend, you're like, man, there's fields all over the place next to where I live.
Right.
So
awesome.
But,
well, hey, yeah. we really appreciate you taking some time. I know you're busy. Thanks for always supporting the Jays, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Awesome. Love you guys. Thanks.
See you. Bye.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zachary Claiborne, a sophomore short stick mini on the 2025 Johns Hopkins men's lacrosse team. And I'm thrilled to be hosting our player spotlight again this week on the We Want More Vodcast. Today, I'm joined by fellow sophomore midi, Tristan Jewell, for our player spotlight. Tristan, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's just start out by you telling us about yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about your family and upbringing.
Yeah, I'm Tristan Jewell. I'm from Corona, California. I went to Mater Dei for all 4 years, and yeah, I mean, born and raised in California. Just Corona's a little small town, not much to do there, so it's a privilege to go to somewhere like Mater Dei. My family, I have two sisters. One older sister, she graduated from USC. My younger sister is probably going to go to Santa Cruz, I think, UC Santa Cruz. Not sure yet, but yeah, just love my family.
Love it. Love it. So, like as you mentioned, you're from Cali, Cali guy from Corona. There's several players on the team this year who are from California. Did you know any other guys on the team before coming to Hopkins? And did it kind of help you coming to Hopkins knowing that other Cali guys were going to be on the team or were already on the team?
Yeah, I mean, coming from California, obviously, like we take it like with a chip on our shoulder. Like it's not often that people from California make it to the Division 1 level, but I knew Charlie Eiler like from playing West Coast Stars. I've never played with him, but I've heard the name. I mean, on the West Coast, like we all knew that he was nasty. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I knew you coming in, which was nice. We played on the same Tropics team in Vail, which was a lot of fun, and also I knew Jimmy. We played on the USA 18U team together, and it's just nice knowing a few people coming into Hopkins.
Nice. Did you know Andrew Cook and Luke Stickler or not so much? I know they're freshmen, but did you know them a little bit coming in?
Yeah, I knew about Stickler a little bit more my senior year. I never was close to him, but I definitely competed against him. He went to Loyola, which was a not a rival school, but they definitely gave us a run for our money. And Andrew Cook, I obviously knew him because of Jono. You know Jono. Um, yeah, he went to Torrey Pines, so I always knew about Cook, and I knew he was nasty too. Like coming in, I was like so excited when I saw his commitment post because I heard a lot of good things about him.
Mhm. Uh, kind of going off that, you know, being from California, what was the recruiting process like for you? Obviously a lot of the summer ball is going on the East Coast in Maryland and whatnot. So what was recruiting like for you and getting noticed?
Yeah, so for me, like a lot of people do showcases and stuff, but I never did that. I just went to as many tournaments on the East Coast that I could that had like all the good schools, like all the Division 1 schools. So I would just go to all the tournaments and just play as hard as I could. I played on like maybe like 4, 5 different club teams that would travel. So yeah, it was a lot, but it was all worth it in the end.
I understand, the summer gauntlet. It's a grind for sure. But moving on to the field, you're here at Hopkins and the past year and a half now, about to be 2 years. What's it like playing for this program and what has it meant to you, so far?
I mean, just being able to be a part of this program, like, just changed my perspective on lacrosse. Like, I think my last 2 years of lacrosse at Mater Dei, like, I wasn't like questioning if I wanted to play lacrosse in college. I definitely did, but like, I definitely was like almost falling out of the sport and just like coming here and like everyone caring, everyone wanting to work hard and just bringing people along with them. Like, it's made me like fall in love with the sport like way more than ever before. And I just like really appreciate everyone being on the same page here at Hopkins. Like, you and I go getting milk, like whoever it is, just like everyone wants to work, everyone wants extra work. Just everyone wants to be better. Everyone wants more.
Couldn't agree more. You saw your first action. Was proud of you this past weekend, playing against Ohio State. It was a big game, top five opponent, homecoming. Well, what was it like for you, playing in that game, playing on Homewood too, what was that like for you? What was that experience?
I mean, that day especially like just being able to play for my seniors and being asked to do something that I haven't been able to do in a while, like play just the wings, like whatever you ask of me, like I'll give. Like all of us buy into our roles and we gotta do the best we can and just being able to be out there and like actually help the team, it felt good and be able to play for the seniors. Although we lost, like it just felt good to be out there again and just play.
For sure. You know, you're 22 this year, number 22. You wore 19 last year, you know, the coveted 19. It's issued in honor of Jeremy Hubert, who passed away 10 years ago. He wore number 19, and as you know, it's given to a freshman every year, and you were chosen last year. Can you tell us, you know, what that meant to you, being selected by Stu to get that, and by Eric to get that number, and if you shared any of your thoughts with Liam Burke, who's wearing it now, about what it means?
Yeah, getting the number 19 is a huge honor that is like a newer tradition in the program. And I remember vividly like Liam Burke coming up to me. He was like he was new, obviously. It was like in the fall, and he was like what is like up with the number 19? Like what does it mean to you? And like to me, well, after talking to Crawley, who was our last offensive coach, like it just means like being the best teammate possible and just being there for your brothers and just working hard and not asking of anything but everyone that you want to do yourself, just putting your nose to the grindstone, just working as hard as you can and doing everything for your teammates that you can. And I think after I told him that, he just really bought into that. And I think Burke is like a great representation of what number 19 means. And Stu and Eric are obviously like great previous number 19s as well. They're always doing stuff, doing extra stuff for their teammates. Always like if you ask anything from Stu, ask anything from Eric, like they'll do it for you in a heartbeat. And just seeing that, like that really shows you like what kind of teammate you should be. And wearing 19, like that's all it's about.
Yep, yep. Yep, you boys are definitely well deserving of that number for sure. So got a little more fun questions for you here lined up now. You know, we know guys on the team, we know that, you know, you like your clothing, you like your vintage clothing, you know, your niche brands. What guy on the team are you letting put a fit together for you? You know, if you had to go out, maybe, you know, what guy on the team are you letting construct a an outfit for you for the night?
For a night, I gotta say either Mikey Trev or even Loki Trip didn't. Trip did. Those two, they got some good style. Me and Mikey are still looking to trade some shirts, so I gotta get on that.
Yeah, all right. All right. I respect those answers. You know, we got a lot of charming and funny guys on the team, as you know. You know, who on the team do you think would make a good stand-up comedian?
Good stand-up comedian.
Who has that stage presence?
Scott Smith. I think Scotty, with his impressions that he does of like PJ and like of everyone, like I think Scott would kill it, honestly. He's funny.
Scott would, yeah, Scott's got the Phil impression down too, for sure, for sure. You know, we've traveled a lot this year, and we've gotten on a couple planes this year for travel. And you've been traveling to every game. What guy on the team would you want to sit next to on the plane, and what guy on the team wouldn't you want to sit with on the plane?
Where am I sitting? Like what seat? Depends what seat I'm sitting in. Doesn't
Any seat, your preference of seat, your favorite seat, and what are
okay,
the yeah, what guy are you don't mind sitting next to, and then one guy you're maybe like, oh gosh, gonna be a long flight.
so I like sitting either in the aisle or like against the window. So I'm sorry, OG, but I'm not sitting next to Oren if he's in the middle seat. He's just so big. He's so big. He's huge. He's huge. And then I'd probably sit next to like I'd probably say you. I don't mind sitting next to you. Yeah,
I respect that. I respect that. I'll be asleep the whole time, so you don't gotta worry about me. But I appreciate that.
sure.
Last question I got for you. Had to mention it. You know, my fellow sous chef guy I cook with a lot. Been mentioned in past vodcasts. You know, what guy other than me would you let cook you a meal for you, a dinner for you?
Sharps. Easy answer. Sharp. I haven't had a sharps cook for me yet, but I've heard a lot of good things. And have you let him cook for you yet?
I have not gotten the Jack Charbonneau meal experience. I've yet to get treated to that.
I think we gotta ask him before he graduates.
We might have to. We have to. But that's it, TJ. That's all the questions. I appreciate you coming on today for our player spotlight. I hope you had a great time. I know I did. And thank you again for being with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll see you later, man.
Of course. See ya.
All right, we're back. Coach, looking ahead, we got Penn State this week, heading up to Happy Valley to take on the Nittany Lions. Just tell us a little bit about first impressions with them and what we're looking at this week.
They're a competitive bunch. Maybe not as deliberate as some of the teams we've seen the last few weeks. I think they play a little bit faster on offense. Ball moves a bit more. They do take some risks. When they see things on that side of the field. Defense is solid, like everybody in our conference. They face off very well. I think they're excellent in the middle of the field. I think their ride and clear game is very polished, and they've done a great job. Even keeping that schematic fairly simple, but being effective with it, not trying to cause too much chaos through the middle, but still making it a challenge. If teams don't get the ball up efficiently or don't swing the ball from side to side, I think that's certainly a point of focus in this clearing week in the clearing game.
I think Coach Jeff Tambroni, obviously a very successful head coach. What are some staples of a Jeff Tambroni coach team?
Great question. Been going against him for a while, and he's well known as a quality tactician. His teams execute game plans pretty well. They run a motion offense that always has a really good pace to it. And that's why I was saying sometimes it is not as slow or deliberate as some of the other teams, and they will take some chances. But there's ball movement, there's player movement. They run in and out of invert stuff. They utilize a ton of picks, and they like to swing the ball side to side. I mean, they're not the same version of some of the teams we've seen the last few weeks. Maybe a little bit closer to Michigan, but some different personnel. They got some quick players, some athletes. And defensively, I think they're sound. I don't know if that's always been their strength, but with the goalie that they have there now, Alex Ross, excellent defenseman. They got a short stick group that's deep and they run well, so they'll push transition. But it's always been a pretty good, well refined system for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, always tight games, kind of 5 overtime games since we started Big Ten play back in 2015, including the last 2. So generally, this, like it seems like we're talking about every week, and we spoke about earlier in this episode, every game is so tight. The margin between wins and losses is so minuscule that I'm going to go back to what we talked about last week and every week, the ground ball battle. Just the importance of that, and I don't even know how you is it just an effort thing? Is it a determination thing? I think these guys know how to pick up a ground ball. I mean, I'm coaching my son's 5-year-old team, and I have to talk about where to hold the hand on the stick and kind of put the butt end down on the ground. But these guys know how to pick up a ground ball. How do we get them to actually go out on Saturday and dominate the ground ball battle?
Great question. I would say the first answer is to not feel like we are too far removed from coaching your boy and some of his friends at that level, because a lot of this is a refinement of fundamentals, is refinement of basic skill sets to get those, is making sure that we're creating new drills and new scenarios for guys to work on keeping their hands low in different situations, with guys on your hip, guys trailing you, guys coming at you, 2 guys coming at you, finding an exit after you pick it up. Do you find some space with hockey footy to move that thing around a defender or out of a pile, instead of Coach K likes to say, raking the coals, just jabbing your sticks in there and trying to pick at it? Find a way to get to space before you pick up that ball so that you have an uncontested ground ball when you grab it. Create multiple environments so that we can work through those and get the ball off the ground into a teammate and maybe swung to the other side of the field. So, all those things that you guys are thinking in your heads or you're referencing are still elements of what we're working on. Coach has got ground ball school going on at 3 p.m. every day, where he's going out there, different drills. Kids are picking up with the PVC pipes with the butt end of their stick so that they force to get low. We're get the padded sticks so that you can go after contested ground balls and work on your exits. We do different drills where, multiple whistles where you're moving the ball and then picking it up. We've made progress. Like I said, last week we were plus 9 in the game on ground balls, or plus 8. And I think a lot of those were outside of that face-off, or at least off the draw. So I do believe that some of those things are paying off. We had a handful of offensive resets and some good contested ones on the defensive end of the field, but we're still leaving a few out there. Like, the goal is to dominate those. And so, but to you, the original question you posed, there's a part of it that's focus and just sheer determination, and then there's a part of it that's execution, which comes in how we're developing and how we're maneuvering in that space. But we got to come away with more of them if we are going to expect to be playing at a high level.
Coach, always a pleasure taking time to chat with you. Good luck this weekend, you and the boys. Safe travels up to Happy Valley, and we look forward to talking to you next week as we head into rivalry week.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Excited about it. I'll see you next week.
See you. Good luck.